Hi everyone, I'm HIDEKI, and I work as an English interpreter and translator here in Tokyo. Today, I want to share with you how I mastered English. Like I mentioned, I work as an interpreter and translator, and you might think that means I've always been good at English because of that. Or you might think, were you raised abroad? Or, if you were already good at English, that doesn't really help me much. But the truth is, it was a completely different story. I struggled with English throughout middle and high school. I was actually scared of it. So how did a complete English dropout like me manage to get good at it? What steps did I take? In this video, I'll share everything about it, no holding back, so make sure to stick around till the end. Like I said, I didn't have any good memories with English back in middle or high school. I remember one time when I was in high school, I was asked to read aloud in English class. The older English teacher wasn't happy that I kept flunking my tests, and sometimes he'd just give this little smirk and order me to read from the textbook. Every time I messed up a pronunciation, the whole class would burst into laughter, so it was clear that he was aiming for that. He was that nasty teacher who liked to spice up his classes, singling out a struggling student. So, reluctantly, like always, I just started reading the English textbook out loud with my awkward pronunciation. I was doing okay at first, but then I hit the word church and just stopped reading out loud. The classroom fell silent. Sweat trickled down my forehead. Taking a gamble, I shouted out loud, "Cock!" Yes, that's how I pronounced church. Cock? Is that supposed to be English? The teacher sneered, and the whole class cracked up laughing. Like I figured, I was super embarrassed. My face heated up and turned beet red, and all I wanted to do was get out of there. I looked over and there she was, the cute girl I'd been crushing on, totally cracking up. That whole mess turned into a real trauma, and seriously ramped up my fear of English. Ultimately, my dislike of English caused me to fail my university entrance exams. After high school, I was stuck in a depressing year of studying to try again. Seeing all my friends get into university and live up their youth, I couldn't help but feel like a complete loser, plagued by intense feelings of inferiority. Then one day, it just clicked. Alright, time to tackle English head on. If I'm doing this, I'm going all out to nail it. Since I'm pretty straightforward, I thought, what better way to get good at English than to just go to the US? I needed my high school English grades for studying in the US, so I had to ask that English teacher. I went back to my high school to tell them I was off to America, and the English teacher was like, "You? Going to America? You're kidding, right?" and just snickered. And he didn't stop there. He was like, "It's gonna be tough, you know? Maybe you should just drop the idea." Feeling totally dissed, I promised myself, I'm gonna nail English for sure, and then I just left the high school. While working part-time at a restaurant to save money, I started researching American universities that would accept me. But I got rejected everywhere. It's because I couldn't really speak English, and was basically asking questions in what sounded like Japanese. During this time, I came across a very generous English language school in rural Colorado that only required alphabet literacy for enrollment. What's more, if I finished their course, I could enroll in a university degree program in just half a year. Feeling totally desperate, I made my way to the English language school, located in the deep countryside of Colorado. Obviously, since I didn't know any English when I flew to the US, it was just one mess after another once I hit the airport. I'll tell you all about the crazy stuff that happened on my way to my host family's house in another video sometime soon. On my first day at the English school, even though they were like, "Can you read the alphabet? Cool, you're in," they put me through this serious placement test. Despite my complete lack of English skills, I was somehow assigned to the second lowest class. I found out later that the lowest class was literally for those who couldn't even read the alphabet, like, the real strugglers. My class had this tipsy-looking grandpa from Argentina with a red nose, and this fun uncle from Mexico who looked exactly like Mario, and we became friends. Chatting with gestures with the tipsy old man and Mario was unexpectedly memorable, but the worst part was how we had to sing English nursery rhymes and do these English play acts every day, like we were in preschool. Even though I couldn't speak English at all, I still felt pretty cool about coming all the way from Japan to America. But that pride got totally trashed with all the children's song singing and English play acting every day. However, Those activities like singing children's songs and English play acting actually ended up being a significant factor in my successful mastery of English later on. As you may know, an English play is literally performing a drama in English. Actually, I was in the drama club back in high school, so performing roles in front of people wasn't a big deal for me. I found out that even those who do not speak any English can manage perfect English during an English play. When you try to whip up English sentences on the fly without preparation, it ends up sounding choppy, and the pronunciation's pretty bad. However, when it comes to an English play, you can practice the lines over and over, so you can speak English perfectly and confidently. Plus, many Japanese find it embarrassing to speak English, but taking on an English-speaking character can totally help them shake off that awkwardness. By acting like this other version of you who speaks English, you'll find yourself talking English with confidence. Realizing the unexpected benefits of English plays, I thought, why not turn all the stuff I say every day into scripts and just memorize them? It might sound crazy, but at that time, I couldn't manage daily life without speaking English. It was really a do-or-die situation. To tackle this, I got a bunch of notebooks ready and wrote down all the English lines I thought I'd say from morning till night. For each situation, speaking with my host family, talking with friends at school, asking teachers questions, and chatting during outings, I prepared and memorized all my lines in English. And guess what? The English conversations that used to be such a struggle for me suddenly started going smoothly. Back then, whenever I spoke English, I tried to construct each sentence in my head, figuring out the subject, the verb, and so on, and by the time I got it sorted, the conversation would have moved on. If you're all nervous and wondering like, is my English okay? Or, can they even understand me? You tend to speak really quietly. And if you speak English quietly, it just makes your already hard to get English even harder to be understood. But when you stick to the lines you've memorized in advance, you can speak more loudly and with clearer pronunciation, so it gets way easier for people to catch what you're saying. There's a deep satisfaction when the English phrases I diligently prepared actually make sense to Americans. As I got the hang of it, I came up with a ton of joke lines just to make Americans laugh. Just like a comedian, I stocked up on jokes and tossed them at Americans any chance I got. There was nothing more satisfying than watching Americans burst into laughter at my jokes. The more I expanded my English vocabulary and expressions, the more I felt my listening skills getting better automatically. Since the expressions I included in my lines were also frequently used by Americans, I found myself understanding more and more without even trying to practice listening. For those of you struggling with English comprehension, this might seem unbelievable, but it's absolutely true. The more you get the hang of how English is pronounced, the easier it gets to understand what's being said. As you continue to learn English lines, you gradually become more knowledgeable about English pronunciation. With this approach, you can start understanding English naturally, without intense listening exercises. Several months after arriving in the US, I could completely speak and comprehend English. One time, while talking to my American friend, I suddenly thought, whoa, I'm actually speaking English. I still remember that moment clearly. It was such a weird feeling, like I was looking down on myself, just speaking English fluently without any effort. After that moment, I could effortlessly speak English to express whatever I wanted to say or communicate. Moreover, I could confidently and clearly catch what people were saying in English. My high school English teacher made fun of me for wanting to go to the US, and even told me to give it up, but I ended up mastering English. Winner takes all was what I thought. I'm sure there are many people out there currently facing difficulties with learning English. I bet some of you watching this video are in the same boat I was, really struggling and just dying to get good at English. To anyone out there feeling the same struggles, my message is simple. Don't ever give up. You will absolutely become fluent in English. Believe it or not, even a guy like me, who was so scared of English that I'd say church as kark, turned into an interpreter and translator. There's no way I can do it and you can't, so just go ahead and take that first step. Also, make sure to ignore the negative voices you hear. Just keep in mind, these voices aren't always those of others. There are times when you feel weak, you may start hearing negative thoughts inside your own mind. You're never gonna make it. You speak English? That's impossible. You'll never be able to understand English. Don't let those negative voices get to you. They're just like what my old English teacher used to say. Whenever those negative thoughts pop up in your head, just shout back at them, I got this. I'm not backing down. I'm totally gonna nail English. Next video, I'll dive deeper into exactly what I did to get good at English. So stay tuned for the next time. If you liked this video, please subscribe and just hit the like button. Also, if you're interested, go ahead and just read the textbooks I wrote. They're all totally free. You can find them in the description below. Okay, see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.